Hey there, West Michigan meteorologist Will Haney here. Just realized I'm a little off center. Let me fix that. Let's see. That should be a little better. Happy Thursday. It's a beautiful day today. We've been spoiled this week. This has been like very good weather this week. Been pretty pleased. We have a lot to talk about, actually. A lot of elements to tonight's weather discussion that I think you'll be interested in. The first one being tonight's lunar eclipse. The second being a potential threat of strong to severe storms late tomorrow into early Saturday. And then the third being a very windy weekend with some crashing temperatures. Oh, and then also, by the way, tomorrow and Saturday we'll probably hit some 70s. So let me share this really quick and we'll get things started. All righty, plenty, can't talk or can't spell, plenty to chat about. All right, it is done. Okay, let's do a little split screen action. And I'm gonna make my graphics bigger so you guys can see them. All right, so first things first, satellite and radar, really quiet. This is good news. Oh, what's up, Ben? How's it going, man? Yeah, be careful tomorrow, Ben. I don't know where you're heading, but maybe somewhere in like Illinois, Iowa. I don't know. Depends on how far you want to drive. Gwen, good evening, and Ron, hello from Three Rivers. You have an awesome night as well. Jerry, good evening. Kathy, good evening from Sturgis. Jeanette, we appreciate you. Hello, Jeanette. A common name I see on here. And hello in Coldwater. All right, so first things first, this lunar eclipse, all the details you need to know. We just posted, by the way, a video to our YouTube channel. Most of you, I believe, are watching on Facebook, but in case you are streaming us on YouTube, if you want just a quick, well, it's like 7 minutes long, but if you want kind of the nuts and bolts of tonight's lunar eclipse and kind of the science behind it, I go into more detail there. But yeah, we have mostly clear skies overhead. There's a little bit of high-level cloud cover kind of streaming across Wisconsin right now. That could kind of filter the lunar eclipse for portions of northern Michigan. This is eventually going to kind of slide across the UP, portions of northern Michigan. So folks up there may have a little bit more of like some upper clouds kind of veiling the lunar eclipse. But right now, things are looking really promising. I was just outside a few moments ago. The moon is super bright out there, and it has been the last couple nights. So a lunar eclipse, this is what it looks like. This is that blood moon effect that you sometimes hear it referred to as. This moon is being called the like worm blood moon, which is just the March full moon is called the worm moon because it's like when worms and grubs start to get a little bit more active. A blood moon is just referencing the appearance the moon takes during a lunar eclipse. So it's just a lunar eclipse. But yeah, this is what it will look like. And this is a photo from, I believe, 2022 in November. There was a lunar eclipse. And Richard Bell captured this well. Also, shameless plug for my friends over at the Kalamazoo Astronomical Society. They are hosting a viewing tonight at the Kalamazoo Nature Center. I believe it's totally free to the public. And so you can just, they have an observatory out there. It's out in kind of a lawn area. Look it up on their Facebook page or on their website. They are a really great local organization, just passionate about astronomy. And you can go check that out. Gates open at 11, but the totality, as you see here, is between 2:26 and 3:31 in the morning. So you're going to have to set an alarm. Fortunately, visibility, we were talking about this earlier in the week. It was looking kind of partly cloudy. Things have trended more clear. So I think we'll have fantastic views of it. Just a more in-depth breakdown, and then I'm going to go and segue to our severe weather chances for tomorrow. Partial totality starts at 1:09 a.m. So that's where you're actually going to start to see the shadow kind of like moving across the moon's surface. It'll look kind of like, you know, a waxing gibbous or a waning gibbous moon for a time until totality begins at 2:26, which is where it will completely turn kind of like that reddish orangish color that we just saw. What's interesting is it'll darken, and then towards the very end of it fully getting covered with the shadow, you'll start to get that red coming through, because that's basically like the last little bit of light kind of like creeping around the edges of the earth in a way. But basically it's the last little bit of light that's being kind of filtered through the Earth's atmosphere, but still is reaching the moon. So that's why it gets that reddish hue. Some people, my mother-in-law included, sent me a picture of the moon rising this evening. And, it was like a little orange and they were like, blood moon, question mark? That is not the blood moon. That's a similar process though. The reason why the moon looks like a little orangey sometimes at sunrise, at moonrise is because the light that we're seeing is passing through more of the atmosphere. It's the same reason why sunrises and sunsets are like that orangish reddish glow. So that's why the moon, as it's rising, as it's setting, sometimes has that kind of coloration to it. This will be a much more striking red / like orange color at totality. All right. And then last other shameless plug is if you do take any photos, feel free to send them to our Chime In page. If you are unfamiliar, this is how the easiest way you can get your photos to us for sharing on social media and on TV. We'll give you a little shout out. You just go to our website, wwmt.com/chime-in. If you can remember that, that's all you got to do. And then you click that little submit content button and the rest is history. All right, so let's talk about tomorrow because there is a pretty potent severe weather threat playing out for tomorrow to our south. Not so much here. We'll get kind of the leftovers of it, if you want to call it that, and a lot of wind into Saturday, which we'll touch on. But let's just kind of take a look. So this is tomorrow at about noon, and you can see temperatures already at 60 in Kalamazoo. If you thought today was warm, wait till tomorrow. We're likely going to soar into the low to mid 70s tomorrow with a good amount of sun. You may see a little bit more cloud cover. It will be very windy with a gusty south-southeasterly wind throughout much of the day. Could have some gusts pushing like 30 to 40 miles an hour, I think, by the later afternoon and evening especially. But pay attention to this little line of storms that develops in places like, eastern Kansas, western Missouri. So that's going to really race across Missouri from like 5 to 8 p.m. initially. So it's kind of in the central part of Missouri up into Iowa as well. There's going to be a pretty strong low pressure center right about there. So this is a front dropping south, and that continues to advance farther east by around midnight. So we're going to stop the timestamp up there. We'll get a little bit closer of a view, but you can see Saturday at midnight, or tomorrow night at midnight, Saturday at 12 a.m. There's where the storms are located, or roundabouts. Okay, so still in Illinois. Notice how not much here yet. Okay, so we're going to zoom in just a moment, and we'll give you a better hour-by-hour look locally. But before we get to that, here is the outlook for tomorrow from the Storm Prediction Center. The Storm Prediction Center being the foremost experts from the National Weather Service. They're a national forecasting branch out of Norman, Oklahoma. So they issue these outlooks for severe weather. Risk category 4 of 5 for portions of Illinois and Missouri, including St. Louis, my hometown, where I grew up. So I would say a level 4 out of 5 is fairly, well, I won't say rare, but you might only see 2, 3 of those in a season, maybe sometimes less, sometimes more down there. So this is a, one in a few type of a setup for a good portion of like Illinois and St. Louis. 3s are pretty common, that level of risk. But when we start talking like 4s and certainly 5s, those are a little less common. They are fairly common in like Tornado Alley, true Tornado Alley. They're just a little less common for like St. Louis, but so it's pretty potent. What I will say is the biggest threat with these storms, especially the ones to our south, is still going to be wind. There is still a threat of tornadoes and hail down there. Not so much here though. I think our biggest risk is going to be the wind, especially just given the fact that it's not going to take that much because you won't even need that strong of a storm. Or borderline, you almost don't even need that. You don't even almost need a thunderstorm to mix down some of the super fast winds that's going to be moving about 3,000 to 4,000 feet above our heads tomorrow night. But the timing for us is going to be about 2 to 6 in the morning. We'll walk you through this here in a second. But this just This level of risk for us is very low. It's a risk category 1 of 5, but this is the first risk of severe weather that we've had so far this season. So we just want you to be aware. And obviously, because it's happening overnight through the early morning hours Saturday, just make sure you have ways to receive an alert. I preach very heavily about weather radios. That seems like a very archaic instrument, right? You hear weather radio, you're like, I thought my grandpa had one of those, right? They're actually incredibly life-saving in a lot of instances. And you may be thinking, I thought, my phone makes that really loud noise whenever like a tornado warning or something like that hits. That is true, but that's not always guaranteed. There have been instances where that system has failed or it was delayed or whatever. A weather radio is like the gold standard and the most foolproof, and also the best thing that's going to wake you up. They're designed to wake you up. So again, I'm not trying to like scare you or make you think like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have like tornadoes or anything like that. But I'm just trying to get you in that mindset of thinking ahead to severe weather season. It's just a good thing to have. So as you can see on this graphic, for us, I do think tornadoes are unlikely. It's never impossible, right? But I think very unlikely in this environment for us. Damaging wind gusts would be the main concern. And then secondary to that would be some isolated hail. I'm less really concerned with the hail threat. I don't really see it being too bad. I think it's primarily going to be a wind threat, if anything, where we may see 1 or 2 severe thunderstorms with some gusty winds. But as you'll see in just a second, it's not even outside of the thunderstorms, there's going to be some strong winds. So this is midnight, picking up where we left off on that regional view, now at a local level. And so you can see we're still quiet by that point. And then here comes, like I said, kind of the leftovers, if you will, of that more potent line of storms off to our southwest. Initially, I think between about 2, maybe 4 in the morning, we'll see that cluster or line of storms work their way in. And it may not have a ton of lightning with it, honestly. There may only be a little bit of rumbles of thunder. I don't expect this to be super electric storms where there's frequent lightning or anything like that. This might be just a few rumbles, but it's going to be the type where the showers kind of move in really quickly and they produce probably some gusty winds. So by around 4 in the morning, there's where they are. 6 in the morning, I think we're probably getting out of the woods as far as the leading edge of those storms. And we're left with just some showers, probably through about mid-morning. And the good news is for the St. Patrick's Day parades happening in West Michigan, I believe on Saturday. I know there's one in Kalamazoo. I think there's one in Grand Rapids too. Don't quote me on that. But for any like parades happening on Saturday, I do think we'll be dry. The kicker is it's going to be super windy regardless, like I said, which we'll get to momentarily. And then into the afternoon and evening, we may see some lingering showers, but that's mainly going to be, I think, east and southeast of Kalamazoo. This model particularly kind of picks up on possibly a late night round of storms Saturday into Sunday. It's a bit of an outlier. I think the better chances for storms are going to be farther east, maybe I-69. But that's something we'll be watching, is possibly a secondary round late Saturday into Sunday. I don't see severe weather ingredients for us here Saturday night. It could happen in southeastern Michigan, but that's just something we'll keep an eye on. I think the primary risk is, again, 2 to 6 in the morning. And this is just to kind of hammer home that point I was making. So when we break down the risks, being damaging wind, large hail, and a tornado, you can see the tornado map, unlikely. You have a tiny, if you notice that little sliver of green in Berrien County down towards New Buffalo, or that's about it. So that, like I said, I don't really suspect we'll have much in the way of rotating thunderstorms necessarily. I think this is primarily going to be a damaging wind risk and large hail risk. And those are both very low. They're both 5%. Like I was saying, the wind on Saturday will be very gusty. I think we will likely see a wind advisory with wind gusts pushing or flirting with 50 miles an hour throughout much of the day. And that is like that's even absent from any thunderstorms. So 50 plus mile an hour gusts, that's enough to probably lead to, at the very least, some isolated outages where, you know, you may see some tree limbs and things blowing around. Fortunately, because there's still not leaves on the trees, those trees can handle the wind a little bit more versus a couple months from now. But nonetheless, I still think we will probably have some isolated to scattered outages on Saturday. So that's just something to be aware of. It's going to be pretty gusty. Fortunately, I don't think this is going to be a widespread outage sort of event. So hopefully the restoration times are fairly quick, but just something to be mindful of. I do think it will be very gusty with the wind out of the southwest on Saturday. I'm trying to think. So for the Kalamazoo Mall, that's north to south. It's going to be windy for the St. Patrick's Day parade. That Kalamazoo Mall is like a wind tunnel sometimes. So yeah, it's going to be very windy. Fortunately, I think we'll be dry and fairly warm. We'll be in the low 60s, but yeah, those gusts, I need to up that, I think, in this graphic based on what I was just looking at. I could probably go up that to like 40 to 45. All right. And then after that, the wind picks up throughout much of the day on Saturday. It will shift late Saturday into Sunday. We may see a little bit of another secondary round of rain, especially east of Kalamazoo, into early Sunday, and then some scattered showers Sunday. But the bigger story is going to be that 30-degree temperature drop into Sunday. Sunday will feel very chilly compared to the next couple of days, and will also still be windy, but just not quite probably wind advisory criteria. But still probably some gusts 30, 35. So still a gusty day. And honestly, it looks windy even into like Monday and Tuesday as well. The next several days look just pretty windy. So a little bit more of an active pattern. After this weekend system is out of here, St. Patrick's Day is looking pretty good. Low 50s, partly sunny. We'll get warmer into Tuesday, and then it looks like another system could bring some wind and showers sometime Wednesday into Thursday, as I see it now. So yeah, pretty active forecast after our week of tranquility. And of course, the lunar eclipse tonight. So that's pretty much it. I'm sorry I haven't read any of the comments. Let me skim through here really quick. All right. Okay, Ben Richmond's a storm chaser. He's looking at Western Illinois. Hi, Molly. What's up? You're welcome for the lunar eclipse video, Carla. I stupidly, though, in that video, I was watching it back. For some reason, my brain said 526 when I was reading the totality instead of 226. I don't know why. I said 526 to 331, which doesn't make sense. That's the fun part of ad-libbing, is sometimes your brain just plays tricks on you. But yeah, totality, I'll end with that here in just a second in case some people are filtering back. Let me see what else. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Yeah. But again, keep these people down to our south in your prayers tonight. Or wait, there you go. There's tomorrow's outlook. And then also, interestingly enough, that should say Saturday. Ignore that. Ignore the Friday night. That should say Saturday. But this is Saturday's outlook. And you can see parts of the deep south, they're going to be also dealing with severe weather. That setup also looks very menacing for potential tornadoes. All right, so again, that's for Saturday, not tomorrow night. This is tomorrow/tomorrow night. I just didn't edit that banner. So yeah. And again, this does include just a tiny little narrow sliver of us here in West Michigan. So you can see there, we're under that risk category 1 of 5, whereas Chicago is in the risk category 2 of 5, get down into Kankakee, Illinois. And, you know, all these colors, they're just colors. But no, what I'm trying to say is even if you're in like Champaign, you shouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I'm right on the border. Like, you're just going to probably see some strong to severe storms, mostly wind. Here, we are more like we may see a few severe thunderstorms. Whereas farther south, I think it's more of a likelihood almost that they're going to see probably numerous severe thunderstorms at the very least, and probably some tornadoes as well. But not tornadoes here again. So I know everybody after last season is very on edge with the tornadoes, and I don't want to be someone that's like hyping stuff up or making someone scared. So if anything, I'm here to be the anti-hype is my goal. But yeah, there's that line of storm swinging through tomorrow night. Let me go back in time. Okay, forward in time. This is 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning early Saturday. And then by around 5 or so, most of that rain is out of here. Well, not out of here. The leading edge is out of here. And I would be mainly concerned with that leading edge, but it's not to say that some of these showers, even into like 6, 7 in the morning, those could still produce some gusty winds. But I'd be most concerned with the leading edge, especially if there's still some thunder and lightning associated with it. All right. And just in case you missed it off the top, Chris, happy Thursday night. Looking for tree removal services, someone to do a basement foundation. All right. Keith and Melissa, pug lovers. The pug lovers are in the house. Keith and Melissa, if anyone knows a tree removal service, I'm trying to think. I don't know any tree removal services, Keith and Melissa. But if anyone has any recs, feel free to drop it in the comments. Joanne saying if I can wake up at 3. I know. It's hard. It's hard to motivate at 3 in the morning. You know, I'm not going to lie. It's like every other night that I'm woken up around that time anyways by a 3-year-old climbing into my bed, and then I have to do the whole shuffle of picking her up and taking her to her room and saying, you can't sleep in mommy and daddy's bed. Although sometimes we don't wake up, and then we wake up with a toddler in our bed. Sometimes. Parents can probably relate to that. So for me, it's just like another night, basically. In fact, I probably don't even need to set an alarm. I probably have a toddler that's going to wake me up during this totality anyways. Wilma in Coldwater, what's up? Wilma? All right. Manistee, what's up? John and Manistee. Sturgis, Carol, what's up? Lori. Oh, my hamstring, Lori. I've had to ice it a lot these last couple days. Just kidding. It was a near catastrophe, Lori. I definitely tweaked it a little bit, but luckily it wasn't a full-blown tear. Just a little. Chris, I needed to stretch. Where I live in the OC, our lines are underground, so shouldn't lose power. That is good. But there's still sometimes, Chris, you know, like, I don't know how power lines work, but my lines on my street are technically underground, but I've still lost power. So it can be related to like up the line, if that makes sense. Hello, Michelle. All right. Mikey, I appreciate that. Kimberly, hello. Good evening, Jesse in Vicksburg. Sadaiku? Jesse Sadaiku? Should we put the animals in the barn? For tomorrow night, Jesse, I would. I think tonight you're fine, unless they're susceptible to a lunar eclipse. Just kidding. No, tonight they're fine. Tomorrow night, I think it would probably be wise, just because you could have some pretty gusty winds. They'd probably be fine. I don't know. Depends if you have a lot of trees on your property, to be honest with you. I would just probably put them in, but I don't really know the rules of when you need to put animals in the barn. I'm sorry, Jesse. Dan, good evening, Will. Oh, yeah. That is very true. Yeah, Dan Miller. Appreciate that comment because I meant to mention that. Yeah, there were a couple brush fires. I don't know, Dan, if you guys responded to any of them today, but I think Ingham County, Rob Dale, the emergency manager, was chiming in saying they had a couple smaller brush fires. Tomorrow, with how windy it is, and it seems weird because, you know, the topsoil, as of a few days ago and in many locations, is still a little muddy. But that's just because we just, you know, in the last few weeks, we've had some snow melt. But we're technically still under a drought, which is weird to think about because it's, it's not top of mind. We just got out of winter that was near average as far as, well, it's not over yet, technically. I'm just getting ahead of myself. But I'm like, we got out of winter. We're scot-free. Not quite. But we just wrapped up meteorological winter. Shoot, come on, man. I got clicker happy. Hold on. So we just wrapped up meteorological winter, and it was, dang it, I did it again. Hold on. I'm trying to pull up the drought monitor. Let's see if I can do this without messing it up. So what's weird, though, it's not really top of mind because it's not really growing season right now. We're not even really in planting season, but we technically have some severe drought creeping its way in, that darker shade in portions of Allegan and Berry counties. And then farther south, technically under moderate drought. So we do have a bit of a deficit. And with that, with windy weather and kind of dry brush, essentially, those two things are not good for fire weather concerns, as Dan was referring to. Several in Berry County, none of our Yankee Springs fire station. Sweet. That's good to know, Dan. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to mention that later on. From Jackson, severe weather in the winter. Oh, hi from Jackson. What's up? Yeah, this is kind of that borderline time of the year, Ryan, where we usually start to see things getting a little active. All right. Anyway, so yeah, some brush fire threat tomorrow, especially earlier in the day. Relative humidity will be building throughout the day, which is a good thing, but things are just still pretty dry out there. So if, there's just even a little spark, it can catch some brush on fire, and then that can spread really quickly. So we want you to be safe. Don't do any leaf burning, I don't know, debris burning the next couple of days. I don't really think you're supposed to do that in general. I think it varies township to township, but just definitely not the next couple of days. It's going to be super windy, and it's no joke. Like one little ember can lead to a grass or a brush fire pretty quickly in this sort of environment. Speaking from someone that one time lit their neighbor's yard on fire, juggling torches. True story. All right. It's a story for another time. All right. Thank you, guys. On that note, I'll sign off. Candace, enjoy your night. And really warm, windy these next couple of days. Check out the lunar eclipse tonight. 2:26 to 3:31 is totality. Set an alarm, roll out of bed, go get your photo, get your selfie, go back to bed, do what you got to do. And feel free to send them in. All right. With that, I'm going to wrap this up on a Thursday. I'll be back. Keith is still on vacation. That dog. But I am giving him a hard time. He deserves every second of his vacation. And he's down, I believe, in Florida. I think he's still down there. Saw he went to Buc-ee's on his socials. It was a big day for him. I'll have to talk to him about that. But I'll be back tomorrow and through the weekend, and then Keith's back next week. So bon voyage, happy eclipse hunting, and we'll keep you updated tomorrow night regarding severe weather. Check back. I'll have more updates similar to this one regarding our severe storm threat, and that'll be more to the minute almost by tomorrow night. All right, see you, everybody.